Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back in War Thunder on the updates 1.91 dev server, and it's time to have a look at the CM11. This is the top tier vehicle for the Chinese in the left hand side of their tech tree, and it is a conglomeration of a lot of interesting ideas. It's also the top vehicle in terms of BR for the Chinese that they get on launch. So the CM11 is an M60 chassis with an M48 turret with the fire control system of an M1 Abrams. This is a massive conglomeration of interesting ideas. It also has some really weird ERA on it, which actually functions as blocks. So you can actually knock this whole ERA block off with one machine gun shell, which is a little bit interesting. And also this also acts as one single block. So what you can do is you can knock off these whole blocks as a thing. Whereas as you have a look at the Z2Z59, you can see how they're all modeled in as singular blocks, meaning that, you know, you can maybe knock some off and not knock others off, especially on the turret as well. Even this triangular piece that you see here. The CM11, because it's in these blocks, this basically means that you have a situation where once you hit a little bit of it, the rest of it comes off. So this ERA is definitely not as strong as the ZTZ59 and a lot of other ERA that we see on a lot of other vehicles. The turret rotation is nice though, 16 degrees per second. It's got a good reload rate behind it as well, a stock 6.5 seconds. And if you want to know what that goes up to, you can get it down to 5 seconds, so Abrams level of reload, which is wonderful. Then, if you have a look inside, it has a 4-man crew, the driver in the front, and then you've got a gunner, commander, and of course loader. You have a first stage ammo of 33 pieces because it has all of these down here and also all of these down here. So basically the turret itself is the first stage ammo storage instead of just this bit at the back here. I wonder if they're going to change that. And also because it's an M60 chassis, you have a big beefy engine. 750 horsepower for this 50-ton vehicle. It's always lovely to see. So if you want to shoot this thing, it's still an M60, it's still an M48, so if you got APFSDS, just shoot straight through the upper glacis, and since you're at 9.0, you should have that, so just make sure to go through it without really any issues. It also has some interesting stuff, including a 12.7 on the top, which is twinned with two 7.62s, so you have one on the top here, and then you also have a coaxial one, which is lovely to see. And the modifications wise, there is a lot to it. So you got the night vision going along, which is really nice. You got the rangefinder, not a laser rangefinder, but still a rangefinder nonetheless. Then you've got the 105mm DM63. So this is where it gets interesting. You get the M735 round stock, which is very good for a 9.0 vehicle, 353-274-166. You get Hesh, which is Hesh, so don't bother. Then you have the Heat FS, the M456A2, which you also get stock, so that is also free to use at 400mm worth of pen. You get a smoke shell, and then you get a ridiculous 105mm DM63 round, which does 481, 417, 278. So once again, another lol penning round that we're giving to another machine at high level. Meaning that it will be able to go through pretty much anything it feels like, if it ever does. One thing I will say though is it is quite a large target, and since this is an M60 M48, it's going to get chewed through like butter, so it's going to be very much a glass tank in a way. So if it fires, it will kill, but if it gets shot at, it should also die, unless the ERA soaks stuff, which of course if you're using chemical rounds, it should be able to do in certain specific ways. Talking about the customization options on this, it has the tricolor carc, which I think is one of the best camouflages we have in game right now, the basic desert, and then the winter camo. So I'm going to put on the carc because I really like the different colors that it brings along. And even if you make the scale really small, it looks absolutely wonderful as well. That's the thing, with these Chinese vehicles, what we end up seeing is a lot of really nice camouflage ideas, even though they wouldn't be too useful, let's say in Europe when you're fighting, but in areas of Asia, of course, they would be at least interesting. The fact is, with the CM11, it's a conglomeration of really interesting ideas, and I'm happy to see it in game, not just because it's a different vehicle, but it's also unique to China, meaning that it isn't one which could come to the American tree. It isn't one which, you know, you could see about the place. Instead, it's a Chinese vehicle, even though it's made up of American parts. Now, to talk about the bad things. So the first bad thing is the fact that it has a bug to it. And the bug is this. When you fire your machine guns, it actually fires your smoke as well. So I'll demonstrate. I'm only hitting the spacebar, which is my machine gun button. You see what I mean? So whenever I fire my machine guns on this vehicle, it also fires my smoke off. Which obviously isn't great, especially for a vehicle that's supposed to be incredibly... it's supposed to be incredibly survivable with the amount of ERA it has on it and all of this wonderful stuff. If we talk about what it has in terms of night vision and stuff, it has night vision, as you can see, through the commander's hatch. Actually, let's just check it at night, see if it actually has a lamp or anything like that. We've already talked about the smoke issue, and I'll also demonstrate something else in this video. Why not? You know, let's go crazy. Let's have a bit of fun with it. So you know what? Let's do blind. Screw it. Actually, no, blind might not work. Let's do rain, because blind might actually block all of the stuff going on. So the first thing I want to show is at night. It's very dark in the game, especially with incessant rain on, as you can see. But with thermals, you can see pretty much everything. So that M48, it's going to have a big hole in it pretty soon, and you can see all of the wonderful smoke that's given off, especially with the round going through it. So you can just keep pummeling him, and he won't be able to do anything about it, because he's in an M48, and you're in an upgraded M48, which is unfortunately overpenning him and not killing him. There we go, hit the ammo. So the fact is, it has night vision, which you can see here, and then it also has night vision in the commander's slot. And also, does it have a lamp? I don't think it has a lamp. So no lamp on it. Instead, it just gets thermals, which is obviously better than a lamp. And there's also that little bug there, which you can see, which maybe or hopefully will get fixed. So looking at the positives of this vehicle, there's a lot of them. You know, it's got a really good penning gun. It's got a great reload. You know, a 5-second reload on anything as a thing to strive for with your crew skills, incredibly good. You know, incredibly nice to see. And then when you have something like the round to compensate that on top of it, incredibly powerful and lovely. The turret rotation, you know, having the nice turret rotation on this is even better. Having the extra machine guns, even though it fires off your smoke, even better. I'm sure that will get fixed. And then all of the array on top of it, just to keep you safe from chemical rounds, for that extra shot you might need to be able to finish off a target like that guy there. It just feels nice, you know, it feels like the Rise, but at a slightly higher BR, because it has a slightly better round, and also should have a little bit better survivability with this ERA. The main downsides is the fact that it's still an M48 and an M60, meaning that it isn't the fastest vehicle in the world, and it is quite big. Let's actually compare it to a vehicle that we're going to go and see. So we could compare it to the Brennus, I suppose, which is also a big vehicle, but we could compare it to like an Abrams or something, just to show you that the M60 is generally quite a large vehicle. You know, it's not a small one that you run into at the end of the street. Instead, it's one that goes, "How's your father? Give me your lunch money." So even against the Brennus with this 4-man crew, you can see how high the hull is on something like this M60, meaning that it pushes it to a size which is way bigger than the Brennus, right? Way bigger. Look how big this CM11 is compared to the Brennus, right? It's a lot chunkier, it's a lot thicker, it's a lot easier to see when you are looking at it. So yeah, it's one of those things you have to get used to by either running a lot of M48s or M60s. You're going to get, a lot of the time, situations where you are going to be seen by the enemy even before you realize. But since you have this round, since you have the first click ability, because you have the stabilizer, because you have the reload, you should be able to trade incredibly well against the majority of vehicles that you face at 9.0. Now if this gets up-tiered into, let's say, the new Ariete, or, you know, any of the Arietes, it's going to have a rough time. But if it stays around that 8.7 area, you know, where the rises, where all the premiums are, the 8.7, I think it'll be fine. And as a top tier vehicle for the Chinese, it is something to aspire for. It is a unique vehicle in itself. You know, it's not something which is unobtainable, especially since the Chinese tree is new. There's a lot of vehicles to it. Yes, not a lot of them are unique, but at least they're interesting in some way or another. And a lot of them will be really fun to use, including this one, and including some of the other ones at top tier. Even though they may be a little bit sluggish in the turret drive or in other areas, there's still going to be a lot of points where you want to take this thing out just to try and bruise the enemy and take some shots. It'd also be useful against bombs and stuff like that, but obviously that means that the bomber has to kind of screw up his shot at the end of the day. Anyway, I like it as an addition to the tree. I hope that people pick it up to use. If they don't, and instead go for the more Soviet line for the Chinese, I feel like they're going to run into a lot more problems, because the general ideas on them, you know, the reload rate's a bit too long, and also the, you know, the turret rotation is going to screw them in the long run. Anyway, I hope you enjoy yourself. Have a lovely day. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, John Ryman, Joseph Anders, Martinez, Mopar 1969, Moxie, Super Cacti, Uyans Terry, and Elove Goats, and of course Seductive Trash Can for supporting the channel.